shave for this evening is going to be with a timeless 0.95 head. It's on a mongoose handle because I'm waiting to find a good deal on a timeless handle. I've got some other priorities. The soap for today is going to be Chiseled Face Midnight Stag. It's a love it or hate it type soap. Very masculine, leather, gasoline, smoke, and wood, and that's pretty much true. It's kind of a dark tan color, yellowish brown. Oh, it smells so good. I'm one of the love it characters on this spectrum, and I love the scent strength. Inside the timeless is a Gillette Silver Blue blade that's been used 4 times. I'll be using this to govern the amount of water I add to my lather. I'm a bowl lather, and here's my Dollar Tree soup bowl, and we have 1/4 of a teaspoon smeared inside here. And if you're uncertain about your lather ratios, then maybe this can give you a starting point. The brush we're going to use today is an Omega Pro 48 long bristled boar brush, and I really like using it. My big hands really like this big shaped handle that this has. Terrific. Don't use it enough. I'm starting to bring it back in the rotation. All right, let's get my face wet. Somebody online said that they were having trouble dialing in the chiseled face. So I thought, you know what, this is not in my regular rotation right now. I mean, I've got too many soaps, and but I've got a couple of samples I'm trying to work through. But I said, you know what, I haven't used this in long enough. Let's bring it back. Maybe give this guy some advice. Some practical advice. I've slung out about as much water out of this as I can, so that we can have a decent benchmark starting point. This did soak for 4 minutes or so, the boar brush. Okay, just stirring up just a little paste right now. Not really doing a whole lot. So, now that we've given that a chance, this is cold water. It's the way I shave. And this is also hard water. It's not distilled. Chiseled Face does just fine. Last time I checked, in hard water. See, now we've got some foam starting to develop. I usually add water in ½ teaspoon increments because I start out with a fairly dry brush. Some people start out with more water in their brush and they just add it by drops at a time. There we go. See, just that a teaspoon changed things dramatically. We've got the, oh, it smells so good. We've got the lather starting to build into a paste right now. So every so often, I'll stick in another ½ teaspoon. Many soaps take about 3 teaspoons of water. Some take more, some take less. This is a big knot here, so it's possible that it could take, more lather. It can hog more lather than smaller brushes. Just trying to mix it up well, consistently. And with this, we've now added 2 teaspoons. I'm going to go ahead and refill it. I've done a lot of samples lately. I'm finally starting to polish off my Christmas samples that I bought, Black Friday sales and all that. Finally getting to them, and a lot of them were just very faint smelling. I'm glad I'm using something right now that is not that at all. I can smell it from the bowl. Look, we're starting to get some here. Some people might stop right now and go at it. There's probably a pass in the bowl and a couple of passes right here. Also, because it'll keep building on your face at this point, because it's not really all that wet right now. Another ½ teaspoon. There we're getting a big old glob of it. Got a light sheen to it, not a heavy sheen. Sheen sometimes is an indicator of good slickness, but I think I've kind of discovered that some soaps don't seem to be formulated to have a sheen no matter how much water you add to them. Now, in my experience, if you look at this, you see all the curves and pointy edges and all the definition. That means you need to keep adding water if you want it to be wet and slick. So right now it'll be cushiony for you, but sometimes if it's at this stage, it won't bond to your face quite as well because it's just a little too dry, relatively speaking. Now, typically I add only a little bit less than 1/4 teaspoon for most of the better quality soaps, and so I did add more for this one, mainly for the aspect of being able to give you an exact measurement, and also for the fact that this knot is just so big that it's going to hog a little bit of that lather anyway, but it looks like I'm going to end up with a ton of lather here. I just put in, wow, so we've got 3½ teaspoons already in this lather, and boom, size comparison, maybe a pass inside the bowl here. Let's mix it up. Just make sure that it's all the thin parts are mixed up so that they are not thin anymore and the thick parts mixed up properly. We can take a look at the peaks now. I think I need to make it a little bit more uniform. Very creamy right now. Plenty of product. A little bit of flexibility there. So this would be pretty luxurious. Let's just see how slick. Do the finger test, just kind of rub it. Yeah, got some nice protection, aka lubrication, as I'm moving my finger across the other fingers. I move it across and I feel the lubrication, and I come back and the lubrication's still there. When it's too thin and the soap is not as good, you'll move it across and may feel it, then you move it back and it feels different, because the lubrication there, whatever they used to have that slickness, had came off with your thumb as you moved it across. Okay, but this is just, you know, slippery for days here. A little bit of cushion. Very creamy feeling, so this would be a nice luxurious cream to go ahead and go with. I'm going to go a little bit further with the water. Just because that's the way I am. You don't necessarily want something as you know, thick like Santa's beard or something like that. When it's properly hydrated, sticks to your skin better to provide that protective layer of lubrication to protect your skin from the blade. And that is very handy if you're a straight razor shaver, or if you're just kind of learning and your technique needs improvement, or if you like using a kind of a rough, aggressive blade, so you need that protection on your skin. So as you can see now, it's a lot more like a meringue. Instead of those hills and valleys and a lot of definition like I showed you before. Look at that long, flexible peak. There's not very many hills and valleys. We're talking more like a light bulb shape instead of just any old shape. So I think I'm going to stop with that. I can always add more water to my face or to the bowl. I think this could probably take some more, because this is just a good soap base. Very good, very enjoyable. Now see, this time it didn't quite stretch out as thin, as long and flexible. So that means I probably need to mix this for a little bit longer to get more a consistent texture, consistent density in my lather. And so that probably means that what I showed you a minute ago that was so long, that was a thin part of the lather, and that is probably becoming thicker as we speak. So I'm going to add just a tad more water, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, because this is the point where we slow down with how quick we add water, with how much water we add at a time, so that we don't overdo it. Now this lather, yep, has a little bit better sheen to it because we got more water into it. Tons of lather here. Boom. Another pass in the bowl. We're going to have plenty to do the job. All right, let's just use this. It'll be great. Timeless 95 is one of the more aggressive, on the aggressive side of the timeless spectrum. But I find it's not all that aggressive. I hesitated because there were some people who mentioned it and thought that maybe it was a little too harsh for them, but to me, I would say it's kind of on the scale of aggression, where maybe a blackbird or a single edge razor, you know, might be a 10. I would say that the 95 is more like a 7. Very, very enjoyable for me. So this is my first pass I'm laying on, and it is creamy and thick, relatively speaking. I could have definitely gone further with the water, and it's building still on the brush, but I just finished laying down a nice layer on my face. Terrific. Okay. This GSB blade has been terrific for me across so many razors. The lather rinses well from the head. That lets you know that lather's not too thick. That means it's been, hydrated properly. Now down here on my neck, I'm going this direction, and this is a cross grain direction. On my neck, I just kind of skip all the rules and just basically do cross grain all 3 passes. Notice I've got a long handle, but I'm gripping it, in a very small area here to allow for minimal leverage. I'm shaving, I'm not trying to pry off a tire off a wheel. I don't want leverage. If there's a bump or a undulation in my skin, I want the razor to move rather than my grip being so firm that it pushes the blade through the bump or against the bump too hard, possibly causing irritation. So in this case, my long handle here is kind of acting more like ballast and not to give me extra grip. Lots of lubrication there. It's actually been a while since I've used this because it just hasn't, my rotation hasn't come around to it, and to be honest, I've actually learned more about lathers in that time, so I wasn't sure exactly how this would turn out. But it is, as I remember, and it is a terrific soap. As you can see, lathering up pretty easy, even in hard water. You can pick if you want to thin it out, make it super, super wet or well hydrated. You can do that without the lather breaking down. Or you can leave it like this and have it be cushiony and creamy. Feels terrific. Oh, the scent is great. It's actually not super strong. While it's on my face right here, it's actually, it's there, but it's not bothersome. But then when you're using the brush and it's almost like a fan action, you get a stronger whiff of it. Maybe it brings it up to like a 4 or 5 out of 10, but this is a strong scent, and so you don't really want it to be like an 8 or something. the scent itself is, need to be careful with it. Cross grain on my cheeks here. Second pass, I'm going to go from bottom to the top right here. It's just my own technique for trying to attack this sensitive area right here. Watching my angle and my pressure carefully, since that's a trouble area. Everywhere else it's pretty easily done. And this is a you know, moderately aggressive head here. But I don't feel in really any danger at all in terms of cutting myself. And this is a sharp blade. Don't feel like there's a problem at all. Third pass. Wonderful, luxurious lather here. Don't have to scrub very much on the second and third passes. Just kind of lay the lather down. Really slick. Really feeling that when I rinse the water off of my face. I'm kind of doing half rinses, a little more than half, because this is just, you know, so slick that it doesn't need me to keep the slickness on my face, because more is coming. Nice and slow right here, since this area is a little more prone. I started off a little too quickly and I was reminded by my skin to, hey, slow down. Adam's apple usually is done pretty well. Skin, the hair grain kind of swirls a little over here, so I have to switch to a downward motion. Everybody's hair grain is different. Terrific. Super comfortable. I don't feel any badness, any razor burn or cuts or anything. This is one of my favorite blades, and one of my favorite soaps and scents. And it might just be my favorite razor head. Who knows? Let's take a look at the little litmus test down here. Yeah, I probably need to do a touch-up around right there. See if I can get that a little better. The rest is fine. Nice and slow here. Make sure my angle is right. If I don't feel it cutting, I alter my angle a little bit. And because the hair is going that direction, if I turn it this way, it's not bothering me very much at all, because that's kind of with the, it's cross grain, but it's not going at all against the grain. If I tilt it more this way, not this way, but this way, then it's going actually slightly against the grain. It's gone past the 90-degree point, and that causes a little bit of irritation sometimes, but it also cuts the hairs really closely. All right, I'm gonna rinse that off. So how much water did we use? 4 and almost 4 1/4 teaspoons, and I probably could have used 4 1/2 or maybe even 5 teaspoons. This guy takes water, but I also had a full full 1/4 teaspoon of soap, and so usually I use a little bit less than a 1/4 teaspoon of soap. And so then that probably would bring it back to maybe 3 1/2 teaspoons of water. So that gives you kind of a baseline to go with. I used a 1/4 teaspoon of soap and 4 1/4 teaspoons of water, and that's the lather that I got. And I just finished 3 passes and 1 touch-up, and I still have a few more passes left. So if you want to work with it, work out your own ratios there, you know, there you go. There's some math for you. Tremendous. Oh, that smells so good. All right. Normally I'll do a witch hazel or a balm or something afterwards. It's all good. I don't feel, I might have gotten a little redness when I went kind of against the grain right there, but it looks really good. I still see some tips there, but if I keep chasing that, then I'm probably going to get some razor burn. That's just a little problem area I have. Everything else feels great, good skin feel. It doesn't feel too, you know, lubricated from the soap, but the lather was just terrific. And so I always use a balm or something anyway. But I got a feeling I wouldn't have a problem if I just wanted to leave and not have any post-shave treatment at all. I think my skin's well taken care of here by this soap. So, A+ across the board. Blade, razor head, soap, brush, everything worked really, really well. So, very nice shave, very enjoyable. So hopefully if you had issues with chiseled face soaps, maybe this might help you with your ratios and how to build a lather. This is just the way I do it. There's a bunch of ways. Okay, there's more ways than just this, but at least here's one, and you saw how it worked even in hard water. So maybe this will help you. Take care, man. Night. I'm going to go ahead and come back in with a footnote. I'm about 15 minutes out away from my shave, and post-shave feel is just fine with this soap. My face isn't drying out. Skin feels great, and so I definitely would not. I have confirmed now that I could easily walk away from a shave with this particular soap and not do any post-shave products. Now, if you had really dry skin, then that might change things for you. I do have oily skin, but right now this skin has been washed, and so it's not oily. And so if this skin stayed the same, like if I had medium skin, not oily, not dry, then I could see definitely not requiring any post-shave products. But I'm going to go ahead and do, just because I can, some Pinode Clubman Special Reserve. My wife doesn't really, and I don't really either, like the Clubman normal, but this Special Reserve, this is just different enough to be enjoyable. And since I have oily skin, I can put on something like this that's got an alcohol on it that sometimes tends to dry skin, because my skin's oily anyway, so it's a help. So nice. I think I covered everything before, so I'm not going to say anything else more about the shave. One of my favorite combinations, so happy to have that done. And you know what? These hairs look even better than before. So I'm going to say an above average shave, not just an average shave. Those tips that I mentioned earlier, I saw a little bit of length on some of the hairs. You know, maybe when I was shaving, those were more exposed, and after everything settles down, they kind of recede a little bit, or the skin gathers up around them or something like that. Anyway, it looks much better than it did several minutes ago. So tremendous. shave for me without going really against the grain very much, except for that one spot where I went slightly against the grain. All right, there we go. Love this scent. They've got another one, like Whiskey Lodge or something like that, that I'm interested in trying out in the Clubman series. It's a popular one. This brand, the Clubman brand, is very popular, so I'm going to try another one of those, and it's not very expensive, so that's pretty cool. All right, now it's time to say goodnight. Take care.